and I have lunch money.
I'll tell you, I'm reading this book by, what is it? Sri Ramana. He's a Maharshi. He is an Indian mystic. I forget exactly when, but he, at age 16, had one of those epiphany things. And then he went to a mountain and never left and just lived on the mountain. And the only possessions he had were like a walking stick, a loincloth, and a bowl. Everything else was public.
How did he eat?
What happened was he would go grab food from like berries and forage, and he like lived in a monastery.
Wait, if you took me at 16, I wouldn't know enough to forage.
He went to an ashram at first, but he quickly became the person to go see there. And so dignitaries would go visit him as well as poor people. And the legend, or the story, it's not a legend, it was only decades ago, is that he treated everybody exactly equal. Like, did not matter who you were. Like, he would cook food for just about everybody who came there, and like didn't matter if you were president or if you were some poor person. And seemed very happy with all of it, like with his loincloth and his thing. It's just, he was silent most of the time, which is interesting because what I have of him is a book, and I think the most fascinating thing about the book is in the introduction, the author tells you he's going to contradict himself nonstop. And I'm going to try to explain why. The reason is because he even said, the deepest truths that I can give you are the ones that I say in silence. So as soon as I open my mouth, I'm a level away from my most important teachings for anybody.
Interesting.
But he said, and he would kind of go in a cascading order of like most true to least true. So you come to him, you're like, how do I be happy? He's like, you are happy. Just realize it. And you would ask him again, he'd be like, there is nothing in the way of happiness. And you ask him 6 times, he's like, you need to meditate and and do this. But the truest answer is like, look, if you force me to give you relationship advice, eventually at the end of this, I'm going to tell you what to do about your boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you the truest answer, which is you're living in the Matrix and your girlfriend isn't real. Right. So don't sweat it.
This is a simulation. It's
exactly.
all zeros and ones.
And even before that, I'm not going to answer you. I'm just going to look at you. Because what he said is that some people, like the fastest students, would get it immediately, from the look or from the first statement. And he's like, the impression that you get is he didn't want to give you the diluted truth. So he would just have to have these contradicting, cascading levels of truth. So eventually he's like, do nothing. Like the first thing he'll tell you is do nothing.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's like, no, you need to meditate 3 times a day. All these things that you have to do.
Sorry, I'm just thinking. What's interesting about that, do you think, because he had the epiphany and then went to the mountain, and the first thought I had was, I wonder if I'll just set a certain amount of, set a certain number aside when I make this much money, just go to the mountain. And I was like, okay, well, I can't do that. But if I break up with my girlfriend,
then I can go.
Then I'll go. And then I went through all this thing of like, oh, what can I do? And then I was thinking about our friend who tried this for a week, I think it was. He just went to a cabin alone with his dog.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember. I think he might have said no internet was allowed. I think he brought a Kindle
and like a journal,
his dog, a journal, and food. And if he needed something, he would walk to town. He wouldn't Postmates or order it. But I don't know that he came out of it enlightened necessarily. He certainly didn't then become this guru. Because you're saying this guru went to an ashram and then went to a mountaintop.
He like became enlightened.
This is what I was saying. I was like, do I try to replicate this because I think it's interesting? Do I go, okay, I'm going to spend 90 days alone in a cabin with my dog? And then I came to the same conclusion you just said, which was that's not what this guy did.
Well,
this guy had his... Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Eckhart Tolle. It reminds me of a lot of these people. They have this moment and then everything changes. And then people try to mimic their actions
after they've crossed over.
Yeah.
And it's everything he says is paradoxical and frustrating because it's all of the questions like, how do I get, it's like, you're there. The only thing you need to do is let go of the idea that you're not enlightened. You are enlightened. It's all, and it's just like, well, but I'm not.
I've often thought that. So
I don't feel enlightened. He's like, the not feeling enlightened is the illusion. Like, where is and it's to me, I can sense that there is value in there, but it is difficult to apply, if not impossible, purposefully impossible to apply because there's nothing to apply. And so I go, the only doing that I know that has got me closer, and I hate to be like a broken record.
Everyone guess what he's going to say next.
Holotropic breathing and psychedelics are the only doings that I sense like make large
So if I told
strides
you,
towards it.
I told you, hey man, just so you know, I'm gonna take 3 months off. Sorry, not gonna do any work. I'm gonna go to a mountain, just me and the dog. You think that's good for me, bad for me? Have no judgment about it.
I guess it's the place that you do it from is almost more important.
Just after this conversation, I just go, I want to be like that guy.
Then I would go, wow. The more interesting thing is that something woke up inside you that was like, that sounds ideal or like appealing to me.
So you have no judgment on that. Positive, negative, good for Ben, bad for Ben.
No, how would I know? I don't know.
Well, I'm just curious.
No. I wouldn't. I would actually, if you said that, I'd be like, holy shit, Ben made massive strides in a very short period of time. I am blown away by how quickly. Yeah, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like something tremendous happened inside of him because I don't see you doing that anytime soon.
Yeah. I wonder if it would be good or not.
Well, then I guess this is the difficulty with all the spiritual stuff is that it's beyond, like people ask him moral questions, good and bad. And I'm very interested in good and bad. And there is only what is real. There is no like, is it real? Then it is good. You know what I mean?
Does
like,
he date? Does he
date?
What does he do?
Does he use apps?
Seriously. Does he date? Does he eat meat? What does he do?
Don't know. I
sit in a cave alone being a vegan?
Well, then this is the thing. And then you can look at his behavior and be like, oh, then I should emulate his behavior.
No,
because
I'm just curious.
So I don't know what
he doesn't
eats.
morally judge good or
I
bad.
don't know. I think he was in Indian culture, which I presume like there were no cows that he was eating. I think probably mostly vegetarian. I mean, he was described as he had a loincloth and a walking stick, you know, like I don't think he was able to
hunt,
do much. Yeah, but maybe he did. Maybe he did
curious.
eat meat. I think he spent most of his days and most of his time, many years. It was only in his later life that he even really started talking. But he spent it in silence from like 16 on and described the experience as blissful, just like euphoric bliss and good news for you. You're blissful and you're blissful too. And people are like, I'm not blissful. He's like, no, you really are.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, hey man, maybe this works for you, but you're just completely, you have no idea how to teach. But he was one of those people that had an aura around him, which is often what people say. It's like when you got near him, you felt closer to that state. So yeah, I'm reading his book, which is
how's the book?
Dense. I get the sense that as I get into it, it's going to become more comprehensible because it's going to be at the level that I am at. And it even starts with, this isn't the truth. The silence was the truth. So here are increasingly diluted versions of it. And I'm like, well, can't take this, can't take this.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, it's hard.
Keep us updated on that.
I'll let you know. What else do I have? No, I just had a quote from Naval, which is we can do a different time because it doesn't really tie in here. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one.